Could you just own the fact that you are choosing to spend your money in these other areas and stop using this excuse, because that's what it is. It is an excuse. Own your choices, own your decisions. That is the only way that you're really going to be in alignment with the life that you're choosing to lead and the results that you are having for yourself. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Power in the Pause podcast. How are you doing today? I am so excited that you have joined me in today's episode because I am here with my dear friend, Amanda Furgiuele. Hello, Amanda. How are you?
I am better now that I'm on the podcast.
Yay! I'm so excited that you are here. I've been really looking forward to having you on the show today. You guys, Amanda is here to chat with me about something that she has become an expert in, and that is leading with purpose. And Amanda is going to share with you all today how she has harnessed the power of the pause for prioritization and productivity. So why is Amanda an amazing person to have talk to you guys about this? Well, let me share a little bit more about her with you all. So Amanda is a sole parent, a serial business owner and entrepreneur, a best-selling co-author of the Pursuit of Badasserie series. She's a podcaster, an educator, an international speaker, and an expert in creative problem solving and time management. Her no-fluff attitude towards business and life has led her to start, buy, sell, and mentor businesses across the globe. She is a fearless and accomplished strategist with over 25 years of experience, and Amanda leads with a relentless determination to succeed and guide others to do the same. Welcome, Amanda. I can't wait to dive into this conversation with you today. So I always ask all of my guests to share a little bit about their own story and how it is that you found your own power in the pause and how that has inspired the work that you do today.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me. You know, when I decided that I wanted to be on your podcast, because obviously you were on our podcast and I met you through connections and work connections and just loved you instantly. So I wanted to be on your podcast. But your topic of power in the pause, I struggled with for a very long time because for me, it was always go, go, go. I'm going to do this. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to keep going until I literally can't go anymore. And the only time I ever paused was when my body shut down. It was like, you're going to take a pause or you're going to die. Literally, you're in the hospital and now you have to pause. Sorry. Oh, you thought you were gonna have a baby and then like the next day go to work. Oh, okay. Well, how about I'm gonna no, literally, I know. It's something that people will joke about, but I absolutely, when I had my birth plan, my plan was, because I went into labor, I was at work when I went into labor. I was like doing burpees the day I went into labor. And my initial plan was, okay, maybe I'll take 1 to 2 days off. I was like, I'm going to have my baby on the due date. Right. Okay. No, you're not, Amanda. But I had convinced myself I was going to have the baby on the due date. And then because the due date was on a Sunday, then I was going to give myself the Monday off. And then I'm going to just go to work on Tuesday and I'll bring the baby. It'll be fine. I'll wear the baby. No. That was not the only instance of when my body literally told me I needed to stop, but it was one of the bigger ones that really has led to this catalytic change in my life, because we all know, anybody who's a woman particularly knows how changing it is when you have a kid in so many ways that you weren't expecting. Even if you read all the books, things happen to your body, to your mind, to your psyche, to your work ethic, everything changes. And I had a very easy pregnancy. I would call it easy-ish. I had a pregnancy but my birth was not easy. And I ended up being basically bedridden for 6 months. So I was not able to even get in and out of my bed without a step stool for a full 6 months. And as a solo parent with no support, nobody helping me, I had to take a pause. I had to take a pause for my business. I had to shift everything I had multiple businesses. I still have multiple businesses, but at the time I was running multiple businesses, basically by myself, and I had to majorly shift on a dime because I had thought I was going to take one day off and then come back to work with a little baby strapped to me and everything was going to be great. And it was a pause that I had to take. But now looking back, that pause, granted, it was mandatory and I had no control over it and I really hated it the entire time. It really shifted the way I did business, not just because I had to change my business and otherwise I wasn't going to make any money. I had to change things, but it made me see my prioritization differently. It changed my work days differently because, when I was in my 20s, I would work 16-hour days and not even blink. Like, yeah, let's just go. And like every day, 16 hours, go, go, go. And then after I had my kid, I tried to still do some of that. Like, okay, well, maybe I'll only work 16-hour days, like 2 days a week. And then no, it's not going to work that way. You're going to have to change things. Your kid isn't going to do the schedule that you wanted to do. Even if you schedule it out, like the baby's going to nap from this time and that's when I'll take a break. No, it's not going to work that way. And so it really shook me because super controlled, go-getter, do all the things all the time, never take a break. Amanda, and I hate speaking about myself in third person, but I just did. I do what I want. At that point, it really shook the way I did business. And it made me realize that you can still make money and you can actually make more money by not doing those things, by changing the way you prioritize, by changing your productivity, shifting how you work and what you see as important. And it's not like, I know a lot of, and this might even be a controversial take on it. I know a lot of people, they have their baby, they're like, my baby is everything. And I just want to be a mom. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's wonderful, but I never felt that way. Even after I had a newborn in my hand, I'm like, I want to work. I love to work. I love what I do. I want my purpose to go further. And I couldn't just, and I hate saying just be a mom, but it was like, something inside of me wanted to be awesome at more than one thing. So I wanted to be an awesome mom, but I also wanted to be awesome at my businesses. So I couldn't just not do the work. And as a solo parent, it would have been impossible for me just to not work. There's no other money coming in. So you have to be the thing. But that pause changed everything. And yes, it was a required pause. And the same thing happened during COVID. Again, a pause I didn't want to take, but when the nation shuts down your business, and I fought it, like I was verbal and I got protested a little bit because of how much I fought the closures. And everyone was like, you need to do your part for the community. I'm like, I am. I'm opening my business and keeping it open. And there was a lot of controversy around that. I got a lot of heat for keeping my business open until I was literally mandated to shut down. But then I had to take another pause.
Right.
But when you have those pauses, I think the important part of it is to understand, like your podcast, the power of it, and shift your mindset around it and shift the way you work. Sometimes out of necessity. It would be nice if I could take these pauses without there being like a major life crisis or like international catastrophe. I haven't got there yet. But even still, when you take the pause and you take it from a point of strategy and power, and you empower yourself to do what you need to do out of that pause, so many things can happen and so many doors can open.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing you say, Amanda, is like it really taught you the power and sort of the art of surrender. And it's almost like these pauses that you experienced were a recalibration of your energy, of your priorities, right? Not that one outweighed the other, but it was, okay, now there's this other piece, like how does everything fit together? And so, I think that so many of us have such a hard time with that. Like you, I thought I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. And the second I had my child, I was like, nope, not for me. I need to go back to work. I am a better mom for acknowledging and recognizing that this alone is like, I was not made to just, to your point too, like just be a stay-at-home mom. Like I needed to be able to go to work every day. I recognize that. And I will say, like, kudos, tip my hat off. Like, it's really hard to say that. I think as women, I feel like we get pressured the other way. I did feel pressured. I felt like the lone wolf going back to work in my community. So, that was my experience having a child. But I understand what you're saying too, that, I think sometimes we may think that just because things have been working great this way, that once, a disruption comes in, it's like, oh, we can just, no big deal. We can just go back and keep doing it that way. And it's really like this wake up call of like, actually, it gets to look different. It gets to be done different. And what if it's easier? What if you are not as stressed out? What if this refocus is actually going to make you more money, right? I don't think anyone ever thinks in those terms, but those of us who have experienced that in real life, right? We see what potentially can happen in the slowdown. Taking intentional pauses, which I don't know about you, but I now take them more often. I don't wait for the universe to hit me upside the head to remind me that I need to be taking one. So I'm curious to know, like, outside of those two, universe handing you pauses, ones that you have taken intentionally, how has it supported you in, let's say problem solving or decision making, especially when the world around you has become really chaotic?
Absolutely. You have to be intentional with it now. And
Mhm.
like I said before, they were forced upon me.
Right.
And it helped me discover how I was able to surrender to it more when it came up, when the opportunity arose, and to allow myself to have those pauses intentionally instead of just having them thrust upon me in a horrible state of whatever. Now I'm able to, when I'm struggling with something, when something isn't fitting with my life, or I have like a cap in money and there's something that's just not hitting right. Now I can intentionally take a pause, go back and re-strategize and look at the cogs, look at the wheels, see what's not working, see where there's a disconnect or a break that I can work on individually and separately. And that's something I wouldn't have been able to do in my 20s because I would have just barreled bull in a china shop, gone through everything and never stopped to actually look at what's going on. I would have just literally bulldozed through anything in order to get my way. But now I have, the older and wiser thing, it rings true here. Older and wiser. Now I can stop and really see the strategy and really see where I'm wasting my time and where I'm wasting my efforts and where I'm wasting money that I wouldn't have seen before. And I think it's so powerful. And if you can see it and do it and you can really hone in on those things, it will absolutely change everything. Because when you're looking at, we all have busy lives. Like I hate the word busy, but everybody has stuff going on. And you still have the option and the option and the ability to change it, to change how you spend your time, to change who you spend your time with and what's important to you. And sometimes that's going to be taking a step back to really reevaluate that, reprioritize that, and then hit it head on in the way that it should be rather than the way that you thought it should be.
Yeah. Well, so I'm curious to know, because I know that you like me, we're very similar in a lot of ways, is probably why we get along so well, right? We kind of have this like no fluff, no bullshit, tough love approach to ourselves, our business. Like, you're my people. I'm curious to know, because I feel like there's people listening, and I know that I struggled with this until I really did the mindset work to work through this. And I'm curious what your experience has been and is sometimes I feel like people have, they're sort of at this crossroads sometimes where they have trouble differentiating between a productive pause, like a pause that is actually happening for you, versus a pause that we would define as procrastination, which would block the process. So how do you personally like kind of differentiate the energy, if that's what it is, between the two? And I would love for you to talk to somebody who's like, I don't know the difference.
Well, the difference is subtle sometimes. And I have absolutely caught myself in this. I procrastinate. It's like a lifelong learning habit that I've done. Procrastination and perfectionism. It's been my whole life dealing with these things. Right. And again, older, wiser. Now I can recognize the root cause behind things. Like, what is it that causes me to procrastinate about something? What is it that's keeping me from doing the thing?
Mhm.
And now that I've done a little deep dive in the reason behind my procrastination, like why do I procrastinate? Why does something have to be perfect? Why do I procrastinate? What is the root cause of that? I can recognize it more easily when it comes up. So I'll give you an example. For me, some of my root procrastination is that procrastination and perfectionism go together. So in my household, it was a very strict, very high achiever. They were high expectations. I was required to do a lot of things. And the high expectations made me procrastinate because I never wanted to show work that wasn't perfect. I never wanted to make a decision that wasn't going to turn out well. And so for a very long time, that fear of failure and that need to be perfect kept me from making decisions. And even now, I'll procrastinate on certain tasks because I have weighted that task as really, really, really important for whatever thing. So if it's something to do with my kid and I'm worried that I'm not going to be a good mom if I choose this, then I'll wait and wait and wait and wait until it becomes an absolute dire necessity to choose the thing.
Right.
And then it's like I go on, then it's basically a fight or flight. Like I go into this almost a trauma response. It's not quite that intense, but you make these reactive decisions because then it becomes, there's no other choice. Whereas I could give myself, if I could just make the decision and live with whatever happens, there's no mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in life, there's choices that you make. So you're going to make the choice that you have to make at the time you have to make it. And then you deal with whatever happens afterwards. So, I mean, obviously I'm not saying choose poorly just for the sake of choosing poorly. I mean, there are
sure.
like, don't go into a horrible place in town that you don't know anything without your GPS and then like walk around naked. Like that's not a good choice. Right. But is it the only choice you could make at the time? So if it is the only choice you can make, it's what happens next. Like what's the thing you can do after that that's going to make a big difference? And often when it comes to procrastination, it's just making a small step, making a small action move. If it's internal and it really does come from something like perfectionism, then you can just make a small decision that isn't as important that can get you to make action. And then the action sort of snowballs into making the decision. Or, sometimes when I realize that I'm procrastinating, I just have to I have a hard talk with myself, get it together, make a decision already. You are purposefully holding yourself back and creating more stress, more drama, and more unnecessary busy work because you're avoiding doing the thing. I did the same thing with when I didn't want to make a phone call, when I was avoiding a phone call, and I would just like think of anything else in the world I could do instead of making that one phone call that would have taken me 2 minutes, but I've created all this anxiety and all this stress for no reason at all.
Right.
But that comes from a realization that I know that I'm doing this, but if you don't do a deep dive as to why the root cause behind your procrastination, you're never going to figure that out. And it's just going to sit there making your life miserable one way or another. So it does take some deep work to figure out that reason, because then it's easier to identify. And when it comes up, you can like sit with it, like, okay, that's why I'm doing this. Here's what I do to get out of it. But ultimately, I feel like one of the best things you can do is just put in action. Even the tiniest, ittiest, bittiest, teeniest amount of action can help get you out of that cycle.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that what I'm hearing you say is that it's these stories, right? It's these stories that we make up in our heads that keep us from staying in that momentum. And, I know that you have a lot of expertise in, time management. And so how do you ensure that you don't get to that place where you get into, perfectionism and procrastination? So how do you build sort of these moments into your day? And how do you do that without the guilt, right? Like you're a mom, I'm a mom, I live with mom guilt pretty much every day that I get to work through, right? But at the same time, like guilt in your business, right? How do you implement these like moments throughout your day, gifting yourself with these pauses so that you do ensure that you are proceeding in your highest and best, but eliminating the guilt?
Yeah, the guilt. Whew, it's a tough one, but
it's a
for
hard
me,
one.
It is. It's super hard. For me, it's a rule of 3. So I have a very specific rule of 3. Every night before I go to bed, I'm not doing it I'm not necessarily like getting out a pencil and paper, even if it's just in the bed mentally. I pick 3 things the next day that are non-negotiables, 3 things that I have to get done that are towards a business goal or towards whatever my biggest goal is at the time, whether it's a business or a personal goal, whatever I'm trying to achieve. I set those 3 goals, and those 3 actions for the day are non-negotiable. I get them done no matter what, even if I have to stay up late, if I have to work through lunch, like whatever, those 3 things get done. Ideally, I do those 3 things first thing in the morning. So as soon as I'm capable of doing those 3 things, I do them right in the morning, because then I can't make the excuse of like, oh, such and such came up and I didn't have time, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
No, you make time, and I make it the first thing. And I know people in the olden days, I used to subscribe to like, I'll wake up at 5 a.m. I'll get it done before my kid wakes up. No, the second I open my eyes, my kid's right here. Good morning. There's no, it doesn't matter if I set my alarm for 4 a.m. or 7:30, it doesn't matter. The second I wake up, his smiley little face is right up in me, and it's go time. I know that was like a lot of people suggest just wake up earlier. I don't think that's feasible for everybody. So I don't wake up earlier. I wake up
either.
Yeah, I wake up the time we're going to wake up, but I set those 3 intentions. Like those are the 3 things that are non-negotiable. I'm going to do no matter what. And then everything else is gravy. It's if I get more done, amazing. But there's no rule that I have to get anything more done. So maybe the rest of the day we go hiking, we go to the museum, I take a day trip, I do something else, take a meeting if I want to, but it gives me tremendous freedom as long as I get those 3 things done. So I know that every day there's forward momentum in whatever I'm doing. Again, it could be a personal goal or a professional goal, but there's forward motion, and I can't allow myself to, it definitely takes discipline because I have to do this, the 3 non-negotiables. But because 3 is such a small, like doable number, I almost never break it. And I mean, obviously you're puking your guts out, death in the family, things happen that will derail it. But generally speaking, those are 3 non-negotiables. It's such a small number. Even I can't talk myself out of it. So from a procrastination standpoint, even I can't talk myself out of it. And I'm pretty good at talking myself out of things or into things.
Aren't we all?
So it gives me right. And it gives me a way to stop the guilt, because like, as long as I'm doing those 3 things, then the number one thing I'm doing is getting taken care of. It may not be as fast as I originally intended, or as, financially successful as I originally intended, but stuff's moving in that direction. And it takes off that feeling of, oh, I didn't get enough done today. Like, no, I got the 3 things done.
Right.
Even if I only got those 3 things done and the rest of the day was a shit show, those 3 things got done. Motion and momentum is happening in the right direction, in intentional direction, not like busy work on a hamster wheel, like actual real work is getting done. And it's gonna turn out all right, because I am moving consistently towards that goal in a productive, strategic way. And there's amazing how much guilt you can let go of if you give yourself that grace of like, these are the 3 things. Everything else is bonus. If I got 6 things done, amazing. If I got 27 things, amazing. But if I only got 3 done, that was enough.
Right.
Still progress.
And what I'm hearing you say, it's like focusing on the things that you do accomplish, right? Glass half full, instead of constantly looking at all the things you didn't get done, all the things you didn't do. So for me, what I'm hearing you say is like, you set yourself up for success every single day, because you know that if you tackle and you complete those 3 things first thing, whenever that first thing is for you in your day, your morning, whatever it is, you know that whatever happens the rest of the day has nothing to do with, anything else. Like, you have something to look at as, I accomplished this. And I think that it drives me nuts, because I feel like everybody, it's like, oh, how was your day? Oh, you go to the negative first. Well, I didn't get to this and I didn't get to that. And right. But it's like, no, like, what if, listeners, you focused on the things that you actually got done, not in comparison to what you didn't do, not in comparison to, you had a list of 10, you got 3 done. What if you just focused on like the 3 things that you got done? And I feel like that is what keeps us from staying in any type of momentum that keeps us out of guilt, that puts us into this momentum of accomplishment, right? And I think that we compromise our own ability to achieve success because we're focusing on the wrong things. And I know that I love your book. I have it. I meant to bring it to our podcast, and it's literally in my bedroom because I was reading it before you came on and became a guest. But The Pursuit of Badasserie. What I love about it is you focus on the power of fearlessness and determination, right? And that is something that I think is hard for a lot of people. And I do believe it's because they are focusing on the wrong things. We focus on the glass half empty. So how do you encourage yourself, your clients, listeners of your podcast, which is also by the same name, to really embrace, these other moments without feeling like they're compromising themselves in the process?
Well, I think that really comes down to mindset. And I know that's a very woo-woo term. Oh, you just shift your mindset and the world's going to be right. Ooh. And it really does make a difference because I am absolutely a pessimist. If you ask anybody who knows me personally, I am 1000% a pessimist. And as a pessimist, I will always say I'm a realist because that's what pessimists say about themselves. They think we're realistic, but I will always see the negative. And, actually, I always joke with this. It was kind of a pivotal in a good way, but also in a woo way. Somebody had my charts read one year. I was like a birthday gift. Like, I'm going to have somebody read your charts. And I was like, okay. Because I'm not as into that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it's not my thing. But one of the things that cracked me up is that she's like, wow, you are really strong in the negative. I'm like, yes, I'm so like, finally there's strong in the negative. However, when you flip from a mindset perspective, it's not that I'm always thinking about the negative. It's that I'm seeing the potential for negative and then stopping it before it comes. So it's like, oh, I'm setting myself up for success. I see the potential for everything to hit the fan and ruin everything, but I'm choosing not to be in that state. When I say these, to get up in the morning and do the 3 things right away, that almost never happens. Do I get all 3 things done in the morning? I have a special needs child. I homeschool him. It's not like I have this tremendous amount of time by myself, like ever. There's no alone time. So when I think about setting myself up for success and creating the life that I want to lead, there has to be intention there. There has to be strategy there. There has to be letting go of a lot of the things that I can't control and that I would absolutely have tried to control in the past. You got to let it go. You've got to give yourself the grace to let it go and realize that even when you have the really, really horrible days, the really bad days, the really bad days, that there's still progress happening because you did the work all the other times. And being set back isn't a setback forever. And that is a mindset shift. And you have to let yourself see that side of things because it's very easy. And as a pessimist, it is very easy to sit in it. It's very easy to go into victim mode. It's very easy to be like, woe is me. The world is collapsing around me and I can't control anything. So I'm just going to give up. Well, you can control something. You can control, your ability to take a breath. You can control how fast you act on something or how you pivot. There's lots of things you can control, but you've got to let yourself let go of the things that you can't and shift your mindset around seeing the positive. Even if you're in the negative, there's always another side to it. There's always a growth mindset, an abundance mindset that you have to shift into. Even when it's the worst, you can shift into it, but it is a conscious choice. It's a conscious choice to get out of that because as somebody who, according to my star chart, lives in the negative, you have to choose from a mindset perspective to get out of it. You have to choose the abundance. You have to choose the growth. You have to choose another way because life's. I don't care if it's your business, if it's your personal life's.
Yeah. And I think you nail it on the head, right? Is we have the choice. We have the choice every second of every day. When I hear people say like, oh, I don't have time. Yes, you do. You are choosing to spend it doing something else, right? Or I'll hear people say like, oh, I can't afford that. And then I see them, spending money on exercise classes. And I'm like, could you just, right, could you just own the fact that you are choosing to spend your money in these other areas and stop using this excuse? Because that's what it is. It is an excuse. Own your choices, own your decisions. That is the only way that you're really going to be in alignment with the life that you're choosing to lead, right? And the results that you are having for yourself.
I could not agree with you more. You're like speaking my love language. It is a choice at any time. No, I mean, absolutely. Anytime somebody says, oh, I can't afford to do that, and they roll up in their new car with their Starbucks and their iPhone, I'm like, oh, okay. Tell me again how you, like, unless you're carport box living, that is a lame excuse.
Right.
Lame.
And
you have the time. Check your phone usage. How much time do you spend scrolling? How many seasons of Bridgerton are you up to date on? Like how far are you? And there's nothing wrong with choosing those things. It's a choice. There's nothing wrong, but own it. It's really okay if you chose to take some downtime and watch Love is Blind Sweden from start to finish in one sitting. Like, is there Love is Blind Sweden? Maybe there is. I don't know. But the point is, it doesn't matter. But own that choice and be okay with it. There's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to be sad about, as long as you don't use that as an excuse for why other things aren't getting done.
Exactly. And, Amanda, I would love for you to leave our listeners today with just, coming full circle with our conversation today. Like, what is something that you want to leave our listeners with today as it relates to leading with living in alignment with their purpose? What do you want to say to our listeners? Or maybe it's even something that you wish that you had known earlier in your life, earlier in the game of, the pursuit of badasserie. What would you say to somebody today?
Stop wasting your time doing the things that don't matter, that you're never going to care about in the future, that you're doing the things that you think somebody else cares about. Stop doing those things. Nobody really cares about those things. And I don't want to say a specific item, but in your heart, the thing that you're doing, that you are wasting your time on, that you have no strategy behind, that somebody has told you need to do for whatever reason, let go of those things, because they're not serving you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. They're not serving you. And ultimately, if you're trying to be more productive, if you're trying to prioritize self-care or your family or any other part of your life, you've got to let go of those things that aren't serving you. You've got to let go of the time wasters that are setting you up for failure. Let go of those things, and you will be surprised how much time you have, how much energy you have, how suddenly your passions are more exciting. Suddenly you find a new passion. Suddenly you have a bit more patience as a parent. Not always. I'm not saying this is like sunshine and rainbows here, but ultimately, you have to be the change you want to see. I know that's an old quote we hear all the time, but you have to be that change. And if you want to see things go differently in your life, you have to be willing to do things differently, which might mean letting go of things that aren't serving you and being okay with letting go of things that are for other people that you've made up in your mind are important, when really deep down in your heart, they're not serving you and there's no point in that. So just let go of that stuff that's doing you no good.
Appreciate it. That's such great advice. Amanda, thank you so much for being here today. And I want to make sure that people know where they can find you, where they can follow you, where they can binge your content. So where's the best place or places?
So the two places you can find me is at AF Consulting Team across all platforms, or the Pursuit of Badasserie, and that's Badasserie with an IE, across all platforms. Read the books, the podcast. That's where you can find me. That's where I'm hanging out, usually on Instagram, but all over the place, any platform.
I love it. And you guys check out my episode. I was on their podcast too. So be sure to check that out as well. It was a good one. I love you and Lynn deeply. And I'm so thankful that you were able to be on the show today. Thank you so much, Amanda, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I knew I wanted to be on your podcast literally the second I met you. I'm like, oh, she's my people.
She's my people. I know. I'm like, oh, Amanda, you are like so my people. And I wish that we lived closer, that we could hang out, but we'll get to that at some point, I'm sure. So, well, you guys, thank you so much for tuning into our episode today. You know that with every single episode, with every single podcast show that I record, my goal, my intention for each and every one of you is to find your own power in your pause, because it looks different for everybody. Don't forget to hit subscribe so that you do not miss a single episode, because I release one every week, and it would be an amazing gesture to leave a 5-star rating and a review so that more people can find this show. Follow me across social media at Wendy Page Sterling. Sending you all so much love and light always. Mwah. Bye, everybody.